Godzilla vs. Kong comes out today, and if there's any movie that's gonna make me go back into a theater, it's this one, because I've been waiting for this movie for like over 10 years. I know they just announced it in 2015, but like when I was 12, I saw the original King Kong vs. Godzilla, and I remember thinking, I love this movie, and man, I wish they would remake it. I wish I could see a newer version of it. It'll probably never happen, but like that was a dream I always had when I was a kid and when I saw that original movie. So now we're finally getting it. I've loved all of the movies that they've made so far in Legendary's MonsterVerse. The first Godzilla 2014, I remember staying away from trailers. I didn't see anything. I didn't want anything to be spoiled. I didn't want any idea of what I was going to see before I saw the movie. So I just stayed away from trailers. And I went in cold, and I like the 2014 movie. I think it's, even though there's not a lot of Godzilla in it, I think it's still, in a way, is very similar to the original movie, in which it focuses more on the devastation and the destruction that is left by Godzilla, and the human drama is, I still accept it. I thought it was well done in the 2014 movie, not as good as the original, but I still thought it was great. Better than the TriStar one, which I still enjoy. I think it's enjoyably bad, but I liked it a lot. Kong Skull Island is, I think, just my favorite out of all of them right now. It's kind of like the original King Kong. It's just so entertaining. It's like it's a roller coaster of a movie, and every image in that movie, every scene, every shot is breathtaking. Everything's gorgeous. You could take any frame of that movie and you can make it into a poster. Like, it deserves to be on a wall. It's that magnificent. And it's a movie that can tell its story through characters and, character development, but also it could tell its story purely through the visuals. And it's amazing, and I think it's the best one that they've made. Godzilla King of the Monsters, I don't like that title. I wish they would have picked a different title, or at least put a 2, in there, like Godzilla 2 King of the Monsters, or Return of the King, or something like that, just to differentiate it. But that one I really liked as well. I was so surprised when people were coming out of it hating it. Some of my friends hated it too, and I was like, but it was so good. I think better than the 2014 one. It had great action, like great monster action, which is what we all want to see, but also it had better human characters and human relationships, and that side of the movie, that story was also much better and a lot more developed. So I liked it. I've liked all of them so far. I definitely enjoyed Godzilla 2 King of the Monsters. It was great. Still, Kong is, I think, out of all of them, is still my favorite. But I'm a huge fan of these movies. I've been anxiously, impatiently waiting for Godzilla vs. Kong, and finally, we're going to get to go see it. My friend was able to book a private screening for us, for safety reasons. So me and a couple of my friends are going to go see it right now. Okay, so I just got back from the movies, and I saw Godzilla vs. Kong, and overall, I loved it. I thought it was perfect. This movie knew what it was, they knew what they were doing, and I think they delivered, because it solely focuses on Godzilla and Kong, and it's perfect. It gives you exactly what you want, and they did it right. There were a lot of moments that reminded me of the 60s version, especially with Kong acting more like the main character, the main focus, and Godzilla acting as the villain. definitely more antagonistic, although ultimately ambivalent. So it definitely feels like Kong's movie, which is nice because the last time we saw him was in Skull Island, and it's great to see him kind of be the focus in this one because we've had Godzilla for 2 movies now, so we know what he's about. The two scientists in this, Alexander Skarsgård and Rebecca Hall, protect Kong, and they're taking him to Antarctica, where there's an entrance to the center of the Earth that's actually a hollow Earth, and it's kind of like this prehistoric area, land, and they're trying to take Kong there so that he can be safe from Godzilla. The idea of the hollow Earth was very interesting. I kind of liked how it was handled. It reminds me a lot of the other Godzilla movies where he's in space or they do space travel, but it's not as outlandish as you think. It's very well grounded. It's definitely they definitely show a lot of like prehistoric type species, and you're able to get a lot of backstory actually on Kong and Godzilla and the rival that their species have had over millions of years. Rebecca Hall's character has an adopted daughter named Gia, who's deaf, but she's able to communicate through sign language, and she has a relationship with Kong, and they're able to talk like that. And I think their relationship is there's such an emotional weight to it. I think it's the best relationship between the monster and a human that any of these movies have had. And it reminds me that a lot of the themes in these MonsterVerse movies have always been about nature reclaiming the earth. Nature's coming back. There's these prehistoric animals, these monsters, who are coming out to protect the earth and reclaim their territory. So I've always wondered if this is the final movie, where does that leave us? Where does that leave the humans? Where do we fall into place? Without giving it away, without giving the ending away, it definitely gives you the idea that we can live harmoniously, side by side, with these titans, with these monsters, as long as we have a great relationship that's founded on trust. It is a versus movie, so let's talk about the fights. The visuals were spectacular. The monsters definitely have a majority of the screen time, definitely more than any of the other movies so far. And all the fights are just, they're amazing. They're gorgeous to look at. And they had me on the edge of my seat. I can't remember the last time I saw a movie that made me jump so many times. I lost track of how many times it made me like flinch and just jump, and I wanted to cheer in the middle of the theater. And it's definitely accompanied by a great score by Tom Holkenborg, who also goes by Junkie XL. The score he makes is great. It kind of like the score for King of the Monsters, it borrows a lot of the classic Godzilla themes, but it also has this great, majestic, kind of like a massive sound that Henry Jackman did for Kong Skull Island. So it's a great mix of both, and it's a score that just gives you a sense of both awe and dread. From the beginning, I never had a preference to who would win the fight. I was just happy either way. I think maybe Kong losing would have been more fitting because his story always ends with him dying, and I just thought it would be very thematic to finish it like that. Without giving away what it is, the ending for me, I thought was great what they did. I was very happy. I was satisfied, and I think most people would be too if it weren't for the marketing. The marketing was really pushing that one of them's gonna lose, one of them's gonna die, there is a definitive winner, like it's on all the posters, everybody said there was gonna be like a definitive winner. So, without giving anything away, I think if you see the final fight, yes there is a winner, yes there is a loser, but it's not a fight to the death. And I think that's what some people might be disappointed in. At the end of Godzilla 2, we know Rodan survived. He's still alive, and we know that there's another Mothra egg. So I thought that they could always come back. And they don't show up here, though. And it's something that I didn't even notice until after the movie was over, that, oh, they never came back, but they should still be around. And I thought maybe they could have incorporated them, and it would have been nice to have some more monsters. But if they did, then we would have spent more time explaining stuff for them and having to incorporate them. And then we would have gone over 2 hours, and then people would have complained that now they just jammed too much into it, it's too long. So I think they did a good... it was a good choice to not incorporate them. This movie is solely Godzilla and Kong. It's under 2 hours. It's perfect. It's fine. Without Rodan and Mothra. Besides, we know they're alive, and they can always come back in another movie. Speaking of which, what's going to happen next? Because this is, technically, for now, this is the last one. I always assumed they can make another one, but Legendary's rights to Godzilla expires in 2020. So they've had a license since 2010 to 2020. Now that that's over, Toho gets the rights to Godzilla, and Mothra and Rodan and Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla and everything. They get them, and I know they're planning to do some more Godzilla movies. I just don't know what this means for the Legendary movies, this MonsterVerse. I hope we can see more in the future, maybe in like 5 years, 10 years, we can get an answer. But for now, this is a definitive end, and I'm very satisfied with it. I think it's amazing that we got the Godzilla 2014 movie, and it's even more amazing that we now have 4 of them. 4 of these movies, all well made, all made by the right people for the right reasons, and they're all amazing. I'm so glad these movies exist. I'm so glad after 10 years, over 10 years of waiting, we finally got Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'm so glad that it's amazing. It's a perfect movie. If you're a fan of these movies, if you're a fan of these characters, these kaiju movies, you're going to love this movie. I guarantee it. It's going to blow you away. If you can catch it in theaters, I recommend it. It's definitely one of those experiences, one of those movies that you have to see in a big screen, with some friends or with a crowd. If not, you can safely watch it at home, which is also great. I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to see it in a big theater. I have been waiting for this movie for years, and it was nice to go back into a theater, and everything was safe, everything was fine. This was a great experience. Loved the movie. 9 out of 10. But still, this is definitely one of my favorites out of all of them, and one of my favorite movies of the year. It's still early, but it's definitely going to be up there. This was a great movie.